Okay? Motion number 2 is about St. Catherine's guiding values under the general phrase of together we make a whole. Now, I'm going to read, first of all, our mission and then our vision, because these words, which we're asking Special Vestry this morning to reaffirm, just with a slight modification, are related to all the work that we have been doing in the development of our ministry plan last year, and with new work by the Parish Council at a retreat this past March. So our vision, I'm going to go slowly, St. Catherine's Anglican Church, near the heart of Edgemont Village in North Vancouver, on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh nations, is a contemporary community of Christian seekers. So that's a broad, vital statement of our mission. Our vision has several compartments or aspects. We want to be an inclusive and thriving community of faith for all generations. We want to continually invite others to join us in our journey of faith and Christian discipleship. We want to honor the strengthening of relationships and the development of community both within our walls and outside them. And we want to minister to those in need in Christ's name. Now, out of those two broad statements, we have selected in the past year, and we're refining them this morning, simple, powerful values. And you'll see on the screen the words that we're proposing. So, Lori, did you have a question? No. Okay. So I'm going to now ask Linda if she would join me in a slight alteration to what you see up here, because Linda and Reverend Sharon and I have been reflecting on these words, and we want to keep them as simple as possible in the same kind of grammar. Now, why is this important? It's important because as we go forward to draw new people into our journey here, to grow our congregation and our community, we want to have words that we can share with these partners, whether they're existing or new partners, to join us in affirming important values, values that are important to us, and that we hope, of course, values that are important to them. So, the wording, and Linda, you're set to hold up your hand. What I want to use as an overall phrase, and I'll go very slowly, to affirm and identify these guiding values is St. Catherine's is a community that aspires to be. St. Catherine's is a community that aspires to be, and one by one, now, welcoming, curious, creative, sustainable, caring, inclusive, and humble. So, one more time. St. Catherine's is a community that aspires to be welcoming, curious, creative, sustainable, caring, inclusive, and humble. And the idea here is that each of those very simple, powerful words contains an aspiration. an element of what we aspire to be. So we're not suggesting that we're there yet necessarily, but we're affirming these as our guiding values or guiding aspirations. So I'm moving that sentence. Linda is seconding it, and I'm going to go one more time so it's clear in our minds. St. Catherine's is a community that aspires to be welcoming, curious, creative, sustainable, caring, inclusive, and humble. So, clear? I hope. Very clear. Any questions about this? Janet.
Rob, you need to repeat the question.
Okay. Janet is asking, she said, I think I'm remembering correctly, I'm not opposed to this word, humble, but, or being humble in an approach to things. This was an addition that was discussed extensively at the Parish Council retreat in March. And as people looked over the list that existed and was adopted by Special Vestry in May of 2021, they felt that it needed to be basically enriched with this additional idea. And the idea being when we're faced with issues and opportunities, we need to be careful and be remembering that we need to be humble in the face of what we're learning about or dealing with. So is that a fair summary? Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah.
I just want to point out that what you read is not exactly what is on the screen. It's a slightly different order.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Can we go with the order that I've asked Linda to second? And that is welcoming, curious, creative, sustainable, caring, inclusive, and humble. So this is not a revolutionary change from what we adopted last Special Vestry. It's simply a modification and a tightening of the language. Heather? Yes. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Huh? Huh?
We can't, and people on Zoom can't hear the people who are not at mics. Could you repeat the question?
Repeat, Heather, your question is? Well, no, Heather's question is, do we need to say that St. Catherine's is a Christian community, or are we assuming that people will know this? Is that fair? Yes. My view is that our mission and our vision, which are already stated and adopted by our most recent Special Vestry, says exactly that. St. Catherine's is a community of Christian seekers. That's in the mission. And then in the vision, it talked about Christian discipleship and ministering to those in need in Christ's name. Very good question, but my view is that the values flow from those two even larger statements. Okay. Any other questions? Derek? Yeah. Derek's comment is to follow up on what Heather has said. He thinks that if we don't demonstrate that we're a Christian community, then we're not going in any direction, favorable direction. So, yeah.
So what's flowing here is we have as a community, when I arrived here in 2016, you'd worked very cleverly and carefully on a vision and mission statement. And those are very clear about being Christian followers. This is who we are and who you are and where you want to go. What these value statements do is share values that come out of being followers of Christ, and that we can share with others who may wish to use our facilities. So for a group that is going to come into using the church sanctuary, the church area, the chapel, they may not be followers of Christ, but we would like them to be welcoming, curious, creative, sustainable, caring, inclusive, and moving towards humility. We'd like to share those values. So that is why we've worded them like this, so that when we look for users of especially our sacred spaces, the church and chapel, those sacred spaces, that we are looking for alignment around values. Okay, so that was the thinking, because Billy and Rob have been working on documentation around how do we find rental groups for our church space where there is an alignment, but not necessarily a sameness. So I hope that gives some clarity. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Lynn.
I'm wondering if those people speaking could come to the microphone.
Yeah.
From now on.
Okay. Lynn is asking whether people who are speaking can come to the microphone, and I'm sure that's possible. Linda?
I think some of the concern can be allayed is if you printed out the material at the beginning on top of the list of the values, we say quite clearly in our mission statement that we are a contemporary community of Christian seekers. I'm not reading out the whole paragraph. And then in our vision, it's to continually invite others to join us in our journey of faith and Christian discipleship. And we also say we will minister to those in Christ's name. So all those words in the mission and the vision statement which talk about us being a Christian community are still there. We're not eliminating them. If we had put the whole thing on the screen, you'd see the references to the Christian community. So these values come underneath that. So they include all of that. But we didn't put the whole thing on the screen, but it was in the material.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?